Hello, welcome to another SCLC today, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great day, but we have to keep fighting. We have to keep lifting each other up. We have to keep informing what the real issues are. We have to keep informing. I just got off the phone with State Senator Hank Sanders out of Selma, Alabama, and I'll be working with not only Senator Sanders, but Fire Rose in the community of Selma on the 59th commemoration of the 1965 Voter Rights Act. You know, we talk about this all the time, but I'll be speaking there with the senator and the commemorative organization of the 1965 Voter Rights Act, which we have lost, ladies and gentlemen. Section 4 and Section 5 has been gutted. It's been gutted, and we're second-class citizens. Everybody's saying the reformation, I like to call reforming what we have lost, and educating people to the fact that we must continue to fight. Politics has never freed the oppressed. I'm here to tell you, it has never done what it should do for those of us who are in the other America. You got America, you got the other America. I'm in the other America. I don't know what you're in. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You might be in the America in terms of what your thinking may be. But in the other America, we must realize the transatlantic African slave trade is not a fairy tale. It actually happened. People don't think that we should be given our rights. We should not be given the opportunity, not no special rights, not no special opportunities, not anything that's different than what we deserve from the transatlantic African slave trade. We've never been healed from slavery. This system has never been healed from slavery. America needs to ask for help. We need to bring about a solution, as well as a focus point of freeing the historicity from which we have come. How do you do that, Steele? Knowing the history of the transatlantic African slave trade. We enriched this country in many ways, and it was passed on from one generation to another. The inheritance of the wealth was transmitted, transformed. It was passed along from generation to generation. That's why America is the wealthiest country in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, that cotton, you know, I think about the cotton field. You're talking about that little piece of white substance of element of slavery that I will forever see in my vision. The cotton era, the cotton gin. It was the cotton gin fan that were tied to Emmett Till to try and keep him down in the river. It was the cotton gin fan that they thought when they killed and tortured him that it wouldn't rise to the top. It was the cotton gin fan that was wrapped around and tortured, none other than what we need to know about our history and how people have died to try and bring about freedom to us. Now you're trying to overrule, overgovern in terms of the successes that we should be allowed as African Americans, as Negroes, colored folks. Sometimes you have to go back to the roots and know where you come from. That's why folks don't want you to know your history. And 50%, 48 to 50% of African American colored folks, Negroes at the time, did not support Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 50%. Anywhere between 48 and 50%, they hated Dr. King. And you must realize that this is a hindrance because we don't know the facts. Oh, we love it now. We shall overcome. Yeah, we will. Once you know the real historicity from which we have come. Speaking of historicity, I will be doing my transition from SCLC, almost 20 years here. Ladies and gentlemen, I was vice president before I became president of SCLC in 2004. And it's almost 20 years that I labor with my family and sacrifice, sleeping in my car, when the headlines of the newspapers around the world said SCLC is on the brink of collapsing. And the only way that SCLC could be saved is that God himself will come down from heaven. Well, I told the people the next day when I read that headline that I had a talk with God too, and he told me he could come down, but he's not. But he sent me. And we were able to work out some situations. We got our own building. We have sacrificed in Ecclesiastes of vision of individuals like myself. There's a time and a place that you need to realize that you have to make a move. You have to move on. You have to bring about the thinking capacity of how can I help my people at another level, not moving away from civil rights, but getting civil rights unstuck to the real issues of the day. And you know what the real issues of the day happen to be? Economics. Economics. That's why the transatlantic African slave trade came about. It was over the economics. Why did President Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, bring about the executive order of the Emancipation Proclamation to free the slaves? And it was about cotton. It was about cotton. America had the worst, the harsh, the most inhumane treatment of slaves. Not to say that England and throughout Europe they didn't have slaves, but the United Kingdom had slaves all over the world. But it wasn't as harsh as America's slaves. It wasn't as harsh. And it was over cotton. And America was winning that cotton race. And that's when England threatened to come in and said, we're going to attack America. We will have a war if you don't abolish slavery. It wasn't because they were so in love with us. It was because of the way the slave masters were treating their slaves. You work from sun up to sundown and in between. You never got any relief. And that was a harshment type of treatment, very harshment treatment of the slaves, where other United Kingdom and other system of slavery saying that America is the worst country in terms of its treatment of slaves. Not that they cared or didn't say that slaves in the Caribbean and the rest of the world that the United Kingdom was in control of. Not to say that England itself did not have slaves. They had them all over the world. But the point being is that America's slave or enslavement of its slaves was so harshly done, so harsh in its manner in how they treated their slaves. And they were winning the war on cotton. It didn't pass no legislative process in terms of what President Abraham Lincoln did. He used executive order. Executive order could be used right now to give us the 1965 Voter Rights Act. Section 4 and Section 5 was gutted. That was the catalyst. That was the glue for the world to bring about freedom and justice and to treat us with reformation and reparation. I like to use reformation as well as reparation. We need both to be reformed and to be repaired. We must repair ourselves in terms of what we have done to mankind, womankind, humankind in all aspects right here in America. America must realize that racism is a disease. It's just like COVID. COVID-R is just as bad as flu, in terms of the flu season, in terms of the COVID virus. Racism is a virus. Flu, the cold, COVID, same category. Racism is the same virus that has destroyed and self-destruct the meaning of what justice and equality for all God's children mean. Speaking of equality and justice, we're going to take not a sabbatical, but a transition. I've taken enough sabbaticals in my life in terms of the civil rights movement. It's a transition to affordable housing. We are saying that affordable housing is a civil rights issue. Dr. King, in June of 1966, hot summer in Chicago, Dr. King said, "I'm so sick and tired of having to march for the freedoms that should be mine because I was born in America. Why should I have to fight for fair housing, equal rights, economics, getting loans at the banks? Because there are two Americas. You got America and you got the other America. Why do I have to fight for the rights that I should be guaranteed and given? Because I'm a citizen and a natural born citizen of this country. I was born here. But you're going to treat me and treat us in a second class type of ramification." Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be leaving SCLC in transition. And it's been so beautiful, but in transition, in collaboration, we will always be SCLC. Matter of fact, I'm president, CEO, emeritus. That was done 2011, unanimously by the board. I got the documentation. The boardroom was named after me down the hall from this boardroom, the Charles Steele Jr. boardroom. Matter of fact, the building is named after me. The Charles Steele Jr. SCLC International Headquarters. So I'm pleased. I have done my job. In order to do what God wants you to do, you have to have a vision that's surpassed mankind and womankind. You have to be above and do God's work and not man or woman's type of work, because God is my leader. The Trinity, you hear me talk about it all the time. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's what I'm being led by. Not no other individuals or any other group of people. I'm being led by God. And thank you so much, Atlanta. Thank you so much, United States of America. Thank you so much for the globalization who received me. We have traveled the world, Dr. Bernard Lafayette and our wives and ourselves, not too many countries we haven't been in. But in closing, when a federal senator came from Brazil 2 or 3 months ago to my office with her delegation, crying, saying, "Thank you for coming to Brazil because it made a difference in our lives. We are doing better, and it passed laws because of your coming. But do me a favor, Steele, keep on working in the spirit of Dr. King." Another great example. Before Mikhail Gorbachev passed, at least about 7 months ago now, he invited me to Russia. How many folks been to Russia? Then sent me to kill Ukraine with Dr. Lamb and the delegation that was with me, and Anastasia, who have dual citizenship in Russia and America. They were so nice to me. But the fact being, I asked Mikhail Gorbachev, President Mikhail Gorbachev, "Mr. President, what gave you the courage to knock down the Berlin Wall?" He said it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., SCLC, and the Civil Rights Movement. That's what I'm proud of. That's the legacy of what I want to leave, is that I did all I could do to try to hold up the truth and the integrity of the civil rights movement in the spirit of not only Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but of course, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others throughout my working career in the civil rights movement. And guess what? I had a birthday August the 3rd. I'm 78 years of age, and I'm just getting started. I got a long way to go yet, and we're going to elevate our concerns and focus point to free all God's children as much as we can. Stay tuned, because we will be coming back before the 31st with another program and enlighten you on the next step of where we're going. Affordable housing, getting entrepreneurship unstuck with our people. How many folks can look downtown, around the block in your community and think about the contracts that we are not getting? It's about the contracts. The contracts. Sherwin-Williams, as much as we marched and demonstrated, they didn't give us no contracts. They gave us some sublease contracts. They did not give us the partnership at the top. When you talk about 9 all-white Caucasians at the top making all decisions, and nobody of color is in that venue or that arena, that's what's wrong with America. In America, you need to ask for help. And if you don't, we coming anyway to help you, because God is what is leading the Trinity of what I believe in, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Godspeed. See you in a few days with another program.